Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day directly from my basement. So thank you so much for tuning in from your isolation out there. Hope you're all doing okay and your families are all safe and sound. Today's rundown, I want to dedicate it to the retail workers out there, people that are working in grocery stores and other essential stores that are open right now, hopefully being treated fairly by their employers and by customers. I know that everybody is very tense and probably a little bit frustrated because we've been in isolation for so long, but we've got to keep it together, all right? Let's work through this together. We will get through this together. Let's get started with the rundown. It doesn't sound like you're going to be able to play Cyberpunk 2077 with your kids. The first rating for the highly anticipated new game has landed, and it definitely sounds like an adults-only experience. The Brazilian advisory rating system, known as Classificação Indicativa, thanks, Blake, has given Cyberpunk an 18-plus rating, citing the game's depictions of illicit drugs, intense sexual relations, suicide, and worst of all, harsh language.
Could fucking tell me what you plan to do first.
Cyberpunk lead quest designer Paulo Sasco even retweeted the rating, saying, and I quote, "We don't F around. We already knew the game was going to be violent, but from this rating, it sounds like the developer CD Projekt Red is going to push the envelope even further. Cyberpunk might even outdo their last project, the controversial Witcher 3. Don't be surprised if the new game runs into censorship trouble in other more strict regions as it gets closer to launch. Cyberpunk 2077 is scheduled to land this September."
I'll be seeing you real soon.
The question that Blake poses as we talk about this is how violent is too violent. I think, creators have the opportunity to push limits and to go dark. We've had lots and lots of really dark films. I always cite Martin Scorsese movies, all right? His movies are always shocking. They have been since his very early days in filmmaking. And we've seen his characters just do horrific things, and yet they are culturally significant, and they resonate, and they matter, even if they're about characters that are, very foreign to us. And I think CD Projekt Red is doing something very similar. They're creating, fictional realities that are severe and filled with grotesque violence against characters and some horrific imagery, but it's all in a quest to create culturally resonant work and artistic work.
Right, that's the cost of doing biz.
Most of the people that are playing video games are adults. If you look at the average age range of players out there, consumers out there, we've grown up with these video game entertainments, and we like to compare them to the fictional linear narrative stuff that we get to watch because it's so close. The visuals and the fidelity and the experiences, they pull from the best of cinema and they reinterpret it and allow us to be, almost the film directors in some of these sequences, and it's profound. I'm all for the boundary pushing. I'm all for the exploration of violence, as long as it's true to the core fundamentals of the storytelling that's within the game. As long as it's believable as part of the narrative, I'm all for it.
All set.
Listen up, Pinheads. A classic horror franchise is being reborn for the modern era. A new Hellraiser TV series is in the works at HBO. Variety reports that the network has picked up the rights to make a new adaptation of the franchise, and rather than being a reboot, the plan is to go back to the original film and continue with its story and expand the mythology.
We have such sights to show you.
Hellraiser is based on a novel from horror author Clive Barker and focuses on a group of hellish demons led by the iconic Pinhead, who unleash a combination of sadistic pain and pleasure on unsuspecting humans.
Nobody escapes us.
Like most of Barker's work, the story deals with intense adult themes like sadomasochism, something that HBO likely hopes will make their new series a bit risque.
Oh, no tears, please.
Behind the camera, the new show will be directed by David Gordon Green, who recently helmed the new Halloween and also worked with HBO on the comedy series Eastbound and Down. This is just the latest in a long line of attempts to revive the Hellraiser franchise, with many failed adaptations coming and going over the years.
We'll tear your soul apart.
I'm not a big horror movie guy, but here, once again, we're dealing with adult themes in entertainment, and we like to be spooked. We like to be scared. The original Hellraiser movie has been something that many, many generations of people now have gone back to, and the fact that it has endured kind of speaks to the idea that maybe there's something cool here to make a TV series out of, and HBO likes to deal with sometimes some pretty grisly stuff, sometimes some things that shock us for sure. I'm often pleasantly surprised by the prowess of the filmmakers of horror movies when they create something that really surprises me from a craftsmanship kind of standpoint. So I'm psyched to find out a little bit more about what this Hellraiser show is all about, and I'm psyched for David Gordon Green, who continues to have a very surprising career.
What's your pleasure, sir?
Quarantine isn't over, but that doesn't mean you can't return to the sinister world of Deadly Premonition. Nintendo has announced that the new survival horror game, Deadly Premonition, will land July 10th exclusively on the Switch. It's a sequel and prequel to the cult classic original game, which was first released on the PS3 and 360 back in 2010 and recently ported to the Switch. In the original, players took the role of FBI agent Francis Morgan, and then head to the small town of Greenvale, Washington, to investigate the death of a teenage girl, but strange supernatural things begin to unfold. Did we mention that it looks a lot like Twin Peaks? The new game will have two narratives, one set before the original and one set after. It's billed as a Switch exclusive at launch, so don't be surprised if it comes to other platforms. I'm being challenged with some horror stuff and some mature-rated stuff in this episode of The Rundown. It sounds also like I need to stream the original Deadly Premonition. I know it's a cult classic. I know a lot of people love it. I know it has lots of insane things in it. And then for sure I'll have a review of Deadly Premonition 2, and I'm looking forward to that. Anyone anxious to play The Last of Us 2 might want to avoid social media for the next few months. Naughty Dog has released their first official statement following the massive leaks of The Last of Us Part 2 earlier this week. They admit that the last few days have been difficult and are asking fans not to post any spoilers from the game until after its official release. Earlier this week, almost all of the cutscenes from the game were posted on YouTube and other social media platforms, and although a playable version of the game itself hasn't leaked, the availability of these cutscenes obviously spoils the story. Shortly after the footage appeared online, Sony announced the new release date of June 19th, which is a lot sooner than many had expected, so they could be rushing it out as a result of the leaks. Naughty Dog still hasn't confirmed who leaked the footage in the first place, but reports have surfaced that it was former employees upset over the crunch time working conditions at the company. Yes, the crunch time conditions that exist all across the industry, and I don't know the specifics about what went down at Naughty Dog, but they exist everywhere, and they are horrible, and it is inexcusable in 2020. And game makers, who often, I think, compare themselves to the film industry, and the film industry is also ripe with people working extended hours, often 14, 16 hours, and then they go to sleep and they get right back on sets. The thing that's different, obviously, in the film industry is that it's unionized, and so if people do work those extra hours and then they force themselves to go right back onto the job, at least they're getting paid for it. And I think that's one of the major things that's, a problem in the video game industry is that people are expected oftentimes and historically, oftentimes to work really long shifts and really long hours and be away from their family and their regular lives to complete games because they believe in the art form. And I respect that passion, but yes, budgeting and scheduling and proper studio disciplines to be fair to your employees need to be a big part of the future of the video game industry. That does not excuse, though, the behavior, if this is former employees, to ruin the work of lots of other people, lots of former colleagues that are finishing this game. Really, what has been undermined is the work of artists and programmers and designers and, people that have really poured themselves into this game, which I'm expecting, as I mentioned yesterday, to be quite phenomenal because Naughty Dog has an incredible track record. Yeah, a lot of hard lessons being learned here, but hopefully some good will come out of all of this. And ultimately, I hope The Last of Us Part 2 is amazing. I can't wait to play it. The U.S. Navy just declassified some UFO videos, and hopefully our alien visitors don't want to destroy all humans. The new remake of the classic alien invasion game, Destroy All Humans, is set to hit the PC, PS4, and Xbox One on July 28th, 15 years after the original game was released. It rebuilds the graphics from the ground up and tweaks the gameplay mechanics to make them feel a little bit more modern, although the original voice acting is reused.
Now I'm gonna get my suit dirty.
Publisher THQ Nordic picked up the rights to the franchise after the original THQ went under in 2013, due in part to the financial failure of some of the Destroy All Humans sequels. So they're hoping the time is right to revive the franchise. I played a little bit of this Destroy All Humans remake at pre-E3 last year, so it was a long time ago, and it was okay. One of the things that I noticed while I was playing it is a lot of the missions and the things that you were doing felt a little archaic. They were great when you first played them, but it felt a little bit, you know, like out of time for a modern game. It was cool to see it come back because I have a fondness for the original Destroy All Humans. It was certainly edgy and funny, and I like the fact that you're playing an alien and picking up cows and things like that and destroying all kinds of military troops that are out trying to shoot your spaceship down. Some funny bits in there, but I hope since the time that I saw it, you know, up until its launch here, that a lot of new twists and turns have been implemented into the game, because, you know, there's a lot of people that would only be interested in Destroy All Humans because they're already familiar with the franchise. They already, you know, maybe played the original or own the original, and they want to see it come back again. So hopefully this is a remake that injects a lot of cool new ideas that make it feel like a different experience, something that is definitely vital for 2020 gamers. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for our rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode for you. We've got lots of other content for you to check out, so please do. And if you dig our channel, please hit that subscribe button and that little bell to get notified. Thank you so much for hitting the thumbs up on this video and for sharing it. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.